Hello guys, the real RGB Fox here, and I'm farming the emblem domain. Yeah, quite frankly, a lot of my characters still need good emblem pieces. While I do have good feathers and flowers, I still need good sands, goblets, and circlets. Later in this video, I actually do get a decent crit rate circlet with some pretty good substat rolls, but still far from ideal. Anyways, long introduction aside, I'm here to talk about the new artifact sets that we have, and it is somewhat strange for me to make a video talking about this new artifact set considering we kind of just got one not that long ago. However, I'm really excited to talk about this one because I want to discuss whether the new artifact set, both the Flower of Paradise Lost and the Desert Pavilion Chronicle, are going to be good additions to your account. And right off the bat, I will just say this. It's not going to be the most resin efficient domain that you can farm. It's not Emblem, it's not Deepwood, Gilded is really good. The most resin efficient domains that you could farm to this day is still the Emblem of Severed Fate domain and the Deepwood Memories domain, just because they provide so much value for you. But that aside, why isn't this domain the most efficient to farm? Well, first and foremost, I want to get started with talking about what these sets do, and then I will judge my rating on it based on what I feel is proper and which characters do get a big bonus from actually using it. So right off the bat, I'm going to start with DPC, aka Desert Pavilion Chronicle. It is the new animal damage bonus set that we've had, and the first one that we've gotten since I think 1.2. Since 1.2, we haven't really had another two-piece artifact set that gives us animal damage bonus, and that's just because VV is just kind of really broken on its own, so there's kind of no reason to hijack something else and then turn it into a new one. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, the 4-piece effect is what I really want to talk about. Obviously there will be animal characters that you have in the game, whether they be Hazo, Xiao, in some cases Kazuha, and of course the new character Wanderer, who is going to look at this artifact set and think, oh, I really want this set for my characters, let's go ahead and farm for it. And if you don't have proper artifact sets for those units, then this is going to be an artifact set for you to invest in. Aside from the normal attack speed increase, you also get an increase in your normal charge and plunging attacks with a 40% increase for about 15 seconds. And honestly, that fits in line to most of the characters' rotations that you want to fall into within like a 15 to 18 second rotation, depending on the kind of buffs that you place for your characters, right? When you look at someone like the Wanderer, right, Scaramouche, whatever you'd like to call him, he utilizes this set effect to the best of his abilities, as his normal attacks do end up doing a large chunk of damage based on not only him being outside of his elemental skill, but in his elemental skill he gets an increase with it. And another thing that he gets is a decent buff with the normal attack speed increase, right? Because he's a catalyst user, he doesn't really suffer too much from the hit lag that other melee characters such as Eula, such as Keqing, etc. get whenever they actually attack enemies. And that's why attack speed increases aren't generally looked as favorable, because they're just not that great, right? They don't really increase your DPS, and if they do, it's not by much. However, seeing as he is a catalyst user, he doesn't suffer from the effects as bad, so that's something to look at, right? Being able to attack faster, being able to normal attack more often means more damage at the end of the day, right? At least that's how I see it. Someone this is also going to be good for is Hazo. Whenever Hazo steps into the field, you do have options to give him. Of course, you can always give him two-piece options, but generally a lot of people have used the Viridescent Veneraire set for him because he does end up applying a lot of swirl damage, and thus that goes ahead and makes Viridescent Veneraire the top artifact set for him before this one. If you're looking at personal damage for Hazo and you're not really focusing him on a actual team to deal elemental swirl damage, then this one becomes premier for him and is probably going to be his best in slot no matter what. We look at someone like Xiao, right? Well, if you already have a Xiao that's properly built, and I'm not talking about just the 2-piece options that you can give him, I'm talking about a full out, flashed out Vermilion set. Quite frankly, this artifact set is not gonna beat that out at all. In fact, it is reduced in damage by a huge margin. Overall, Xiao has a bunch of damage percent that he gets from his elemental burst, and because of that, he does get a lot of value from attack percent, and I think it's 64% attack that he gets from the Vermilion thereafter once everything is applied properly. That's really hard to beat, as Xiao does get a big increase in damage from that passive, and that's why he wants high ranking support such as Bennett or Sucrose with Grilling Tails in order to increase his attack by a huge amount so he can deal the most damage in his plunge attacks, and is the reason as well why he likes the Primordial Jade Spear, is because it has such a high base attack that it works in tandem with those attack percent artifacts. And do note that Xiao doesn't always utilize a animal damage bonus cup. In a lot of cases, some Xiaos end up using an attack percent bonus cup because it is just that great. And why in some cases would you want to go attack percent cup? I would say is generally because the 2-piece options don't give you much of leeway to actually deal without the necessary attack percent that you need. However, if you are using Vermilion hereafter, then animal damage bonus does become better since you're already getting a whopping 60%. At least I'm pretty sure it's 60%. Do correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, I would say for Xiao users, don't really go for this artifact set unless you just have no other option. Aside from that, those are really the 3 characters that can utilize this artifact set to the most efficiency. And if you're not here to pull for the Wanderer or to build your Hazel all of a sudden, then this domain doesn't seem that palatable. It's definitely a set that you can go for, but it's not a set that I would highly recommend. Now, let's look at the following artifact set, the Flower of Paradise Lost. With this artifact set, we get another 2-piece that gives us 80 elemental mastery. And it also ends up increasing bloom damage, hyper bloom damage, and burgeon damage by 40%, plus an additional 25% on top of that. That can get stacked up to 4 times. And so don't note this as it being 140% if you got all 4 stacks. Think of it getting 40%, then another 100% on top of it if you were to do it in that manner. So yeah, it just stacks on itself. I'm pretty sure it's just additive. That being said, who are the characters that are going to best utilize this? Right off the bat, I gotta say for the Electro characters is going to be Raiden Shogun and Kuki. These characters are characters that can easily build elemental mastery on their own kit, especially Raiden with a Dragon's Bane, giving her an additional 221 elemental mastery. So when you look at 3 elemental mastery pieces plus substats plus the 80 bonus that you get, plus the weapon, of course, you do end up getting somewhere near, if not over 800 elemental mastery. Same thing with Kuki. She can equip like Freedom Sworn or Iron Sting, and so generally these characters have a very easy method to get elemental mastery and utilize this effect to the max potential. And the reason why elemental mastery above like 800 for Hyper Bloom is not as insane is just the fact that you get diminishing returns after a certain amount. I think it kind of really starts diminishing at about 600, and you start seeing the effects of diminishing returns even further at 800 and beyond. So these are characters that are going to want to utilize this to be able to increase the damage of this transformative reaction, which I just cannot believe it's actually able to do so. Another winner, if not winners, is going to be someone like Shanling when she procs Burgeon, someone like Kazuha if you have Bennett on the field and Kazuha is the one triggering Burgeon as well, even Kazuha to trigger Hyper Bloom, and of course this is going to be probably a big win for either Nilo or Nahida depending on who is gaining the ownership in the Super Bloom reaction. At least I'm pretty sure that this artifact set works with it, and if it doesn't, then you know, Nilo bad. But the one character that this artifact set may not actually be as insane for is probably Thoma. Now, why is that? So right off the bat, some things that you gotta realize about Thoma is that unlike someone like Shenling or Kazuha who are proccing the transformative reactions with their elemental bursts, these are characters that all want energy recharge in their kit to be able to get it back properly. Someone like Thoma also needs a massive energy recharge stat that can be similar to Shenling's, but we have to realize, why are these two characters going to fare better with this artifact set than Thoma? And the answer has to do with their elemental mastery ascension passive. Whenever you level up these characters towards 90, they gain an instant 115 elemental mastery just by leveling them up alone. In addition to the 3 artifact sets that you would get, which is the timepiece, the goblet, and the circlet, having 561 elemental mastery along with their ascension passive gets them to about 700 elemental mastery right off the bat. In theory, if you were to get great substats, let's say 100 elemental mastery from the flower and from the feather combined, you get an additional 776, but let's say you only got 20. Well, it's okay, the extra 80 is coming from this artifact set, Flower of Paradise Lost. So in tandem, these characters reach 800 elemental mastery relatively fast to be able to deal high burgeon damage. Someone like Thoma though doesn't get to abuse this to the best potential because his burgeon damage all comes exclusively from his elemental burst. Sure, you can hit the seeds with his elemental skill, but do note that that is a one-hit skill and not multi-hit. It is his elemental burst that hits the seeds multiple times in order to generate the burgeon damage. Someone like Thoma wants at least 200 energy recharge to get his burst back on cooldown, and if you don't have the burst, you deal no burgeon damage and you get a DPS loss. However, if you have him at C4, the numbers can go anywhere from between 160 to 180, but do note that in most cases he might still want an energy recharge weapon. Of course, there's Keqingmains Crossbeer, but that is assuming you have it at refinement 5 so you can get the most out of it. If not, well, you're kind of out of luck, aren't you? In which case, Gilded Dream ends up becoming the better set for him as it alleviates the need to build a lot of elemental mastery, since you can get at least 100 to about 150 depending on the team comp from the passive, right? And that is something that people need to keep in mind, is that Thoma can be perfectly fine on the Gilded Dream set, because in many cases you might want to give him Favonius Lance, you might want to give him Skyward Pride, Engulfing Lightning, what have you, in order to meet his energy recharge needs to be able to trigger his burst at every consecutive moment that you need it. And so for that reason alone, one of the biggest losers potentially of this artifact set could be Thoma. Now that doesn't mean that you can't farm it. Of course, you could get way luckier than me with your substats and whatnot, but in general, the biggest winners are going to be all elemental mastery Raiden, so she doesn't have to deal with the Gilded Dream set. Someone like Kuki, someone like Kazuha, I guess Sucrose as well if you want to trigger hyper blooms, right? And more. But when it comes to Thoma, Gilded Dreams might just be the set that he wants. There are other characters that can utilize it, right? Like, you know, Cyno is used in some hyper bloom teams, but I would stick with Gilded Dreams because the amount of elemental mastery you get plus the Staff of Scarlet Sands makes it a very competitive set for him to just keep on, so he could have good aggravate damage as well as good hyper bloom damage. But that's just me going on a rant. While these artifact sets do seem pretty good, they are not end all be all, and I would still recommend people to farm something like the Emblem or the Deepwood Memory set before they try to even go for this. Now, if you have someone like the Wanderer in your mind and you want to grab him, then by all means farm this set. It's going to be good no matter what. Do note though that you could get unlucky and it could take a while for you to get a grade 4 piece, so do with that information what you will. If you enjoyed this discussion, then I hope that you'll be able to go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe, and give me your opinion on the artifact sets. Will you be going for it? Will you be avoiding it? Me personally, I'm probably going to go for it. You know, I used my resin and gotten pretty lucky at the Deepwood Memory set, so this is going to be a new fun challenge to take over. So yeah. If you guys enjoyed this video, then I hope you have a good day, and if you didn't enjoy this video, I also hope you have a good day. This is RGB Fox, aka The Real A-Town, and I'll catch y'all later.